Good to have you along. Thanks for being with me. Yesterday I started thinking, oh my gosh, it's December already, and I'm looking at my Christmas plans. I'm actually going to be leaving the afternoon of the 20th, and it's like Christmas is just going to come rushing at me in no time, and I think that that's the case for a lot of us. It's going to be, Christmas before you know it, and for many, many people, it's going to be just wonderful and exciting, and yet there are other people for whom Christmas does not look like the Norman Rockwell paintings, that sort of vision. And joining me now, psychologist Dr. Christine Korol. Good morning. Christine Korol, are you there?
I am. Yes. Hello.
Okay, good. For some families, unfortunately, it doesn't look like the Christmas cards and the Coca-Cola commercials.
No, it really doesn't. And there are a lot of people who have to make some difficult decisions about this year between seeing family and their mental health. And so lots of therapists are busy this time of year getting people ready for, some inevitable conflict or the difficult decision not to join in and take a break for themselves this year.
Is it bad enough for some people that they literally come to you as a psychologist and say, how am I supposed to deal with my family at Christmas time?
Oh, all the time. So it's kind of a regular thing. And everybody, makes the same comment that, it shouldn't be me coming. It should be this other person who's coming. But unfortunately, it's often if they were coming to a therapist, they would have more insight and not be hurting other people.
Okay, but do you sometimes say to people, you know what, you got to just say no and don't go see the family?
Well, I help them make the decision, and it's a very personal decision. Ultimately, I try first with people to work on assertiveness skills and setting boundaries, how to, laugh things off. Sometimes you can be more patient with somebody, but if it starts to affect your mental health, or say some people are feeling a little bit more vulnerable and even suicidal after they see their families, or they're very abusive. If someone punched you in the face, it'd be very clear you wouldn't go over for Christmas dinner if you weren't physically safe. But you also have to think about your emotional safety as well and how much harm it's doing to you. So sometimes you can brush it off and you're okay, or you even you see the humor in it. And family is an important value to you, so you can put up with, difficult Uncle Frank. But other times it is very unsafe. So helping someone come to that decision is usually difficult, painful. There's a lot of guilt. So it's not something that people do lightly.
Okay, but if Uncle Frank is Frank Costanza, is it actually a good thing to air the grievances?
It can be. I think, whenever possible, we should be talking to each other and for each other. If you can see the humor in it, if it's good-hearted, if they're not abusive, like they like disagreeing. My father-in-law, every time he picked up the newspaper, I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to leave the room. But he was lovely. He was lovely, but he would just go on rants, and so that's different than if they are calling you names, hurting you. And then it's also how do you receive it? Some people, you can even see siblings in the family, they all deal with Uncle Frank differently. Some find him hilarious and egg him on, and other people just feel really overwhelmed. And that's okay if you have a different reaction than other people around you. It doesn't mean you're more sensitive. We all have our triggers. We all have our soft spots, and we have to be mindful of each other's soft spots and what we say and how it lands. But some years you can take it, some years you can't. So it is a very personal decision. It's not just that this person's difficult. It's like also, are you up for it? Is this what you need this year?
Psychologist Dr. Christine Korol is with me talking about the difficulties that some families have getting through the holidays, in a blog she has called No Contact for the Holidays, when protecting your mental health means staying away. It's Dr. Christine Korol, Korol, if you want to look that up. So your father-in-law would pick up the paper and sound like he was doing a talk show?
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, he would have been a good guest for you for sure. He would have talked your ear off. It was great, but a little bit of outrage here when he would see different news stories. It was quite fun. But sometimes, like when you haven't had your coffee yet, you want to just get your coffee. So that's a completely different thing. We're talking about people who are abusive, and even if somebody is somewhat abusive, if you're going through a depression that year, it's okay to sit this one out.
Okay, but I saw a statistic, and this is Americans, but it may be pretty much the same because we are different in some ways and not so much in other ways. 27% of Americans have cut ties with a family member. That's a lot.
It's a lot. And, I even wonder if that's a bit of an underestimate because I think this is like the biggest secret out there. A lot of people have someone that they're no contact, or now the term is low contact with, and you just give them some space. And I do like the term low contact. You usually don't want to do like a big dramatic announcement that you're not speaking to somebody because that usually escalates things, particularly if they have certain types of personality issues. But kind of going low contact. Oh, we're busy this year, and not calling as much, and withdrawing. If you feel drained after connecting with somebody, you're not going to contact them as much. And that's fine. Put your energy into people who give you something back and are kind to you and care about you. And it makes sense that you would put more effort into those people. And I think, especially with young people, I know the stat you're talking about. I'm blanking on the author of it. He wrote a book a few years ago that was really great, but I think younger people, Gen Z, don't put up with crap, and that's not a bad thing.
Well, some people don't put up with them. But, there's two sides to every story. But I just got a text message here, and it reads, I've not had a Christmas dinner with my family for over 40 years, let alone talk to them. That's just a sad, sad thing to hear, isn't it?
It is. But you know what? Sometimes it's a good thing, and you move on with your life, and you have your found family, and put your energy into people that are kind and give things back to you. There's family and there's relatives. Family are the people who care about you and are, around you, and your relatives are there by birth. And, ideally, they would be the same, but they aren't always, and that's okay. So I don't want to give people the message that if you are, estranged from your family or no contact, that's necessarily a bad outcome, because in some cases that is the appropriate outcome. If your family's dangerous, if your family's mean, if your family's jealous, if they're coming at, like, you have to make that decision. Or say you have a queer kid and they are terrible to that kid, then you have to protect that kid from family and their criticism, because a young person might not be able to as well as you can. So
Here's a,
it's a difficult decision.
Here's
For
another
sure.
text. My selfish, entitled actress sister thinks she's always right and she's always late. And then she starts to push her anti-Trump message on everybody. And God forbid you push back, because then you're the bully. Well, that's a sister that maybe should find something else to do for Christmas. I do, because you just go, if we bring her here, it's going to be so much drama. The rest of us could have a better time without her. Sometimes you just have to say, you're not coming.
Well, yeah, or sometimes, like, if repeated attempts to set a boundaries, like, say, we're not going to talk about politics here. We have to disagree, we agree to disagree. Uh, we want peace here at Christmas. And, if that repeatedly isn't happening, then you can make a decision with the rest of the family about whether you take a break. But, this is one thing that really has lost our ability to talk to each other, and everybody's so polarized these days. So wherever possible, sort of patiently setting boundaries. And if that doesn't work, then you have another difficult decision to make.
Well, I'm fortunate in that my two sisters are liberal, and that's a problem. But my brother and I are conservative. But it's just, we don't talk politics when we do family events. That's the rule.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. And we have a merry time, and I look forward to seeing them. I love my sisters. I just don't agree with them politically. But we don't have to talk about that.
You don't. Or even a colleague of mine, I was chatting with her last week, and she lives in Orange County, California. And she said she was talking to the new city council after a meeting. They had a town hall, and they're all MAGA, and she is not. And she said, well, I look forward to being a thorn in your side for many years to come. And they said, oh, well, we're looking forward to that. Like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Even in very politicized. But we do have to speak to each other and listen to each other. And, everybody has good ideas and everybody gets to a place of believing what they believe by what they read and their set of circumstances. And um, yeah, I think, most people want a better world. And I think that's where you have to start with each other. Might disagree about how to get there, but we have to, if we aren't in dialogue, it's going to get really ugly fast. What I'm talking about here is when you don't think that it is psychologically or physically safe for you to be with certain people and you're making a decision to distance yourself
Yeah.
from them. Wherever possible, my first line of intervention is to help people feel stronger so that they can go in there and kind of laugh things off. But at a certain point, when you've made repeated attempts, sometimes you have to make the difficult decision to withdraw.
Dr. Christine Korol, psychologist, good to have you. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. Nice talking with you again.